computer. Here we go. Okay, everyone, welcome back to Get Real About Love and Love Mechanics. This is Renee Piane, your host. And through these challenging times, there has been so many different topics that I've been talking about to help keep people connected in their relationships. And one of them is losing their sexual energy. And what can you do when you're not feeling that mojo feeling? And I brought two amazing experts on here today to give us the answers. So don't go anywhere. We will be right back. So now that we're back, I'm super excited to bring on my two guests. So I want to introduce to my left on this video is Aamina Mirza Shah, right? Is that how you say it?
Mirza Shah, really close.
That's Shah. She works for this wonderful pharmacy in Torrance. It's called the Remedy Pharm. And I got introduced to her through a good friend of mine that has helped me bring me back from some health issues. And one of the things that was wrong with me was my hormones were all messed up. So let me tell you about her. She's a certified hormone specialist and a pharmacist in charge at the Remedy Pharm. She's helped hundreds of people with their journey to health and wellness through in-depth consultations, which you can call and get. I guess, don't they have like a free 15-minute consultation, right? She's the host of Remedy Pharm Health Minute, and you can find episodes on YouTube. And she also hosts Remedy Pharm Health. It's an internet health radio show where she interviews guests, even me, who discuss holistic approach to healing. And also with her is Dr. Connie Kim. She is a hormone specialist as well. And she's been doing hormone replacement therapy for over 20 years. Her clients have been coming to her after people that are childbearing through menopause. And as she's also a mom and a woman, and she can identify with these issues of women as they get a little bit older, how it affects their sexual energy. And she offers experience and loves what she does. So you can tell these women care about their clients, which is, to me, when I went through this, which we're going to be talking about, it was really kind of scary, and women need someone to trust with this issue, and men need it as well. So we're going to be talking about spicing up your love life with hormone replacement therapy that's bioidentical with these two amazing women. So welcome, girls. How are you girls doing today?
Thank you so much for having us. We are doing great.
Yes. I'm just super excited. And I know that, I think that there's so many people right now because they're stuck at home, either with partners or without. And a lot of people are having time to reflect on their health, the wellness, and some are lonely and some are with their husbands or wives, and they're not connecting. Because I get emails from couples. They're like, my husband just doesn't have that spark anymore. Maybe it's his testosterone. So I want to start with this issue. When people start to decline, what are the signs that people see? And let's start with you, Aamina, first, and then we'll go to Connie. What are the first signs that women see and men see? It's different for both. So maybe you could address that first.
Definitely. So women, we go through so much growing up, right? We go through puberty, then we go through, some women have pregnancies, and they go through all these hormonal changes through that. After pregnancy, there's a big hormonal change as well. And then we go through perimenopause, menopause, and, that's where we're at. With men, they go through andropause. It's usually a little bit later than women. With women, they see things like night sweats. They're having trouble sleeping. They're having breast tenderness. They're having a lot of different issues, changes that they just never saw before. Even down there, it is dry. You notice that it's starting to become harder to enjoy intimacy. It's getting, it's hurting, or it's getting super dry. And women are just, they don't know where to turn to. They don't know what's causing it. Or sometimes they have an idea, but it's still, it's still really difficult to kind of navigate. So that's where we come in to help you navigate that, help you kind of, get through it, because it is a bumpy ride. It's not easy, and it's not very straightforward. And a lot of times even with hormone therapy, you're finding that women are, it takes time to reach a place where you're doing well. And then, as Connie will be able to attest to, you get to a point where, hey, what happened? all of a sudden, everything just started going back into a roller coaster. I was doing great last week. So these are some of the things that we can help address. And, you know, there's so many aspects to it.
So Connie, you've been doing this a long time yourself. What are the biggest complaints that people have? Like she was saying, the dryness and the lack of sexual energy. I know it happened to me in my early 40s, and it was like shocking. Like all of a sudden I'm hot and then I'm not feeling hot. So at the same time, you're hot, but you're not feeling hot. So how can people learn, you know, what is the first step when they come in to see you that you guys do to address these issues with people?
Yeah, before we go into that, I like to address that a lot of times we think it's just the hormones that is affecting our sex life or our vitality, but it's not just the hormone. We have to look at the whole picture. It's our lifestyle. Are we getting enough nutrients into our body? And we have to look at it like a symphony as our body, and all the hormones and nutrients and everything has to work together. And we cannot just looking at sex hormones and thinking, okay, if I balance my sex hormone, everything's going to be okay. That's not the way it works. And right now with COVID, with pandemic, stress it's really high up there, and it's probably playing a huge role because cortisol, our steroid hormone, is actually stress hormone, is affecting all of our hormones. It's interacting
big time now. I mean, it's really big time for couples. And you know, they'll call me and they're like, I don't know how to make my husband feel more, you know, sexual during this time. But a lot of it is stress based on no jobs and, you know, being with kids. And those are the things that I help with, you know, how to balance it all and how to carve out time for that. But when things aren't, you know, I know myself, we did a show about my former situation with my health and how the vitamins that I take were what has rejuvenated me back to health. And it was such a great show but this was a big issue in my work, you know, as a love designer. People are reinventing, people are going back, they're going through divorces and shakeups and breakups. And then they feel like they don't have that beauty or that feeling of vitality for men. And they don't want to they don't want to talk to, you know, it's like a secret. Like, I don't want anybody to know this, you know? So to have confidence like you that they could call to talk about this stuff is really important. And I know when I went through it, I had a doctor that was a specialist in it. And it was really cool that she took time to look at the whole picture. So that's what you guys do at Remedy Pharm, is look at the whole picture. And I think that's really, really important, you know, but a lot of people, why are people so afraid? Like there's all these reports, don't do that. You know, why are people afraid of hormones? Because bioidentical is different than regular hormones. Could you explain, you know, that?
Absolutely. I'll start, and Connie, and then you can kind of finish off. But, you know, it's funny that you mentioned that, because just today I got a phone call from a patient that said, my doctor took me off the hormones. They told me to stop it. I don't know why. I don't understand why. I don't know where they're coming from. And guess what? I got off my hormones and I feel terrible. Like I got all the, you know, sleeplessness. I'm having breast tenderness. I'm having all kinds of symptoms of not being, you know, balanced hormonally. So we had to talk to this patient and just let her know that even some doctors out there, they don't maybe not believe in it, or they just don't feel, I don't know how to explain it. It's really hard to explain, but it's really, and then puts us into a weird position where we understand the science behind it. The bioidentical hormones are totally different than the synthetic hormones that were done in, you know, those clinical trials that were showing that it may increase the chance of cancer and all these other things. And it was just very misread, if you ask me. Because the hormones that we do, they are wild yam derivatives. And so they are all natural. They are phytoestrogens and that kind of stuff that you'll see. They are not going to be the same as something like, for example, the oral estrogens that were on the market, like the estrase that was on the market. It's not the same as the Premarin tablets on the market. Those are totally different items. You cannot compare the two. And I think that's where the confusion comes from. What do you think, Connie?
Yeah, that is where it actually all came. I remember the day that they I'm sure you guys all remember a Women's Health Initiative trial that was going on, and it was stopped. I think it was 2002, year 2002 that was stopped. And that trial actually was done with Premarin, which is horse estrogen, and medroxyprogesterone, which is also synthetic progesterone. One thing is those two are not bioidentical. Those are synthetic. So they're not, when they go into our body do not react the same way, respond the same way as what our body produce. So obviously, yes, you are going to have some side effects from it. And the study was stopped because of the fact that it actually increases stroke and also increased the rate of breast cancer, invasive breast cancer. But it is not.
Is estrogen the one that is most prominent to cause breast cancer? Because
no, at that time it was actually progestin, medroxyprogesterone, which nowadays even medical field physicians use progesterone and synthetic progesterone, which is, they call it progestin. They use those two interchangeably. So it confused not only lay people, it also confused medical professions because they use those interchangeably. But the study was done with progestin, a synthetic progesterone, not progesterone that our body produce. So anyway, so that's why all the physicians think that when you say progesterone, oh, it causes cancer. Estrogen, it causes cancer. Not only that they use the wrong hormones to do a study with, they actually use only oral route. We know that when you take estrogen orally, especially estrogen, not progesterone, it actually can increase your risk of clotting. It also can increase your triglyceride. So you could see why there are some side effects on top of progestin. So when women, go ahead.
The average bear, like, even listening to it, it's like, wait a minute, let me get this straight, So that's why it's important for people to come to see you privately. Maybe like when I went, I brought all different things that I had been advised to take. And this is what I would suggest. If I came to you, I would say, well, let me come and show you my whole kit of all the stuff that I take, which is a lot of vital nutrients that you do sell there, and some of the other nutrients that you use to balance all of these things out, or have literally saved my life. That's why I'm so passionate about having you on my show, because those things kept me going when I was going through an autoimmune condition. So will these hormones, and when people are afraid, there's a baseline test that you give them. So what is like the baseline when they come in? What do they have to like expect? Like if I was new and I was coming in and I was like, oh God, I'm going to go to these people. What's the steps that you take people through? It's just so that they would know not only that you care and that you're really going to give them that information from a deeper place, but the steps that they would need to take so they'd be prepared to come.
Absolutely. So a few of the things that we always request is that get your blood work done. You always want to have a baseline. So get an in-depth blood work done with the hormone panel is fine, whatever your doctor will order for you. As a follow-up, we love the saliva test here at the Remedy Pharm. We feel like that it gives a better reflection of your active hormone in your body because it tests what's actively absorbed through your tissues. That's where the free hormone is there. It's not kind of a guesstimate from your blood work. So at a minimum, I would like to see a blood work, but I prefer, and I think Connie can attest to this, that the saliva test is definitely more pinpointing. The saliva test, what it is, if you guys don't know, is you'll get 4 tubes to take, and you could do this at home as well. So you'll get 4 tubes to test your sex hormones and your cortisol levels throughout the day, because as Connie mentioned earlier, that cortisol also affects your stress hormone, affects your hormones, your sex hormones as well. It all works together. It's amazing how our body works. So it'll test your estradiol, it'll test your DHEA, your progesterone, your testosterone, and your cortisol first thing in the morning. And then you'll do 3 more you'll do saliva tests. So you'll be spitting in tubes throughout the day too. So there'll be 3 more times you'll be doing it throughout the day. So you'll do it first thing in the morning, then around lunchtime, then around dinner time, and then right before you go to bed. Obviously there's a little bit more to it, but that's the gist. And what you do is when we send it to the lab, we'll get the result, and it'll give us a little bit better snapshot of what your hormones are actually doing for you and how your cortisol is reacting to it. And I think that's one of the best things we start with, because you always want to start with a baseline. You want to know what the patients are taking, especially even prescription medications, because like Connie mentioned, sometimes your prescription medicines, or maybe you didn't, I don't know. Sometimes your prescription medicines affect your insulin sensitivity, they affect your thyroid, and we all know that thyroid plays a really large role as well. So you can't just ignore one thing and only address another. And that's why I think what we do here at the Remedy Pharm is just so helpful, because that's the opposite of what we do. We want to make sure that we are addressing everything from the inside out and not putting any band-aids on.
That's great. I want to just add on to that. So if a person went to their regular gynecologist and got their blood work, then they would bring that with them. But what if they don't have it? Would the saliva test be enough to tell them? Because it was an accident how I started on bioidenticals. I forgot my thyroid medication on a vacation. Then I went back east, and I ended up at a pharmacy back east that does bioidenticals. And I was like, I'm hot and I'm this and I'm that. And they were like, well, you need to do the saliva test. And I was low in everything. And then once I went on everything, it was like a miracle. It was like a miracle. But then later I got it confirmed with my blood work when I went back, right? So sometimes if people, it would save them a little bit of money if they already have the blood work that goes through their insurance, right, to bring to you. So what would those tests, what is it, testosterone, estrogen, and what are the others? What ones would you recommend that if they were going to the doctor before they came to see you, what would they have to get maybe before, or even if it was even 6 months, what is the time frame that you have to have the blood work so that they could get, adequate blood work to you?
Connie handle that.
Yeah, I'll probably get a complete thyroid panel also on top of estrogen, estradiol, progesterone, DHEA sulfate, testosterone, free testosterone, total testosterone. And those are the ones that we need. Also, we should get cortisol levels. Remember, I said cortisol is interrelated with all our hormones, sex hormones. So that's very important. For Renee, you started the right way because you start with the thyroid. Basically, we have to start with our adrenal function, which is cortisol. So you have to address your cortisol or adrenal function, and then your thyroid, and then our sex hormones. If you don't do it that way, initially we start, patients want to, okay, I have hot flashes and I have a low libido, all of that. So can you fix that? And if you just fix that with sex hormones, they'll be okay for a few months. Then they'll come right back and say, oh, I went back to where I was. I was feeling good for a couple months, and then I'm back to where I was, because we never address our adrenal function and our thyroid functions. Our sex drive also depends on our thyroid hormone. And you know how testosterone is very important for male with libido and sex drive, and also erection. And thyroid, if you
have a question, because many of my male clients, they confide in me when they're getting back in the game of love, and they're like, recently I haven't been, like sometimes I get nervous when I have sex, or they meet somebody new, and like the first sexual encounters, like the that magical moment of knowing whether you're together, and then sometimes guys just lose it, right? And they talk to me about it, and I send them to places. Like I'm like a referral service for people that are single, with all the different stuff that goes on, right? Whether it's a heartbreak or physical, and I'm sort of the one that just sends them to whoever they need. And I think that men are so private about these issues that they think that if they have to go get something, that there's something wrong with them. Like, when they're, they can't get as hard as they used to, or erect and everything, they think that it's, there's something wrong with them, when in reality, it's just a normal function of the male body, just like a female. Mm-hmm. Why are men so stubborn about going to get help? Yeah. What the heck is that? Like, you guys want to have more fun, want to make us happy, go see these girls, right? So what would you advise men?
men, they need to get their hormones checked, like thyroid. Low thyroid equal to erectile dysfunction. I don't know how many men know about that. And high cortisol equals to low testosterone function. I don't know how many people know about that.
I don't know.
So-
I didn't know that. I did not know that.
Yeah.
I
And
just know that, you know, some of my clients, I suggest it and they're like, I don't need that. And I said, well, if you're not having the normal function of that very delicate part of your body, then there's something missing. And it's not it's not you not being a virile man. It's something missing, you know, and and you know, for a few $100s to find that out could change their life forever. That's why the commercials, you know, I did a show about sex with a bunch of doctors, and they were asking me, you know, what about men? And I said, men don't want to talk about this kind of stuff. But if they now, but that was back like, you know, 10 or 15 years ago when I talked all about having that tool in your toolkit to make your tools work, you know, if you know what I mean. And it's very personal for guys, whereas women have accepted it, but it always seems like it gets pushed onto the women, like, oh, we're the ones that aren't horny and the guys want sex. But, you know, when couples come to me and they say, my husband always wants sex, but I don't feel that mojo, then it's not necessarily the man, but they feel rejected. They get rejected often because they're not giving the woman that emotional connection to make her want to open up. They just like nudge her, you know, like, hey, baby, let's, you know, get it on type of a thing. And the woman's like, no, I got to get juicy. So the women are saying they're dry and the men are saying they're having problems. This is what I'm hearing. So that's why I called you experts, because this is not my expertise, although that I do send people to people like you. So how do you address that feeling of fear, like that they're not going to be, you know, virile or juicy anymore? I know women just go, I just don't feel that juice anymore. How do they get it back?
You know, Renee, and what you said really hit the nail on the head. Men do not want to talk about it. It's embarrassing for them. And I've talked to other pharmacists as well who are experts in different fields. And they say the same exact thing, that men really don't want to admit that they have a problem, right? And what Connie, and along the same lines as Connie is saying, you have to address the underlying problems to really get to the root cause, right? So, and some men, like, they'll just hype up on testosterone and then they'll still have issues. And they don't understand what's going on, right? So
kind of pushy, they get bull, like they get mean, they can be mean.
And that's a lot. That's a lot of testosterone. So you have to take that step back. The other thing that I noticed is that with couples, like you mentioned, that, you know, if the guy wants it and his partner is like, oh, no, thanks, I'm not in the mood, I don't have the mojo, like you say, then it's going to affect him also mentally. He's going to later like make that connection. And that affects people too, psychologically. And it could be subconscious, and that can affect things as well. So just that's a little tidbit as well. But for women specifically, for example, and I think I may have mentioned this to you on the phone, is that we make a really great vaginal cream if you need something to help with the dryness, you know, for the pain during sex. There is a vaginal, almost kind of like, you could think of it as a lubricating cream, but it's estriol. It's estrogen. It's an estriol. It's a form of estrogen that works so well vaginally. It helps with the dryness down there. It helps to prevent the pain from sex. And it also helps with the atrophy. Atrophy is when your vagina starts to change over time. It gets thinner and things are changing down there. So it helps to, you know, minimize the atrophy, what we call atrophy, of your vagina as you get older. And it's very helpful to so many of our patients across the board. There's some patients that, you know, they do really well with a combination of an estriol and a testosterone if they have a lot of pain too. So there are so many options out there. There's even a scream cream. Have you ever heard of a scream cream, Renee?
I don't know what a scream cream is, but I want some just to learn.
Yeah, exactly.
How can I mean, the more I know, the more I can pass it on, because people do ask me, because I'm, you know, I'm over 50. I'm not going to say how old I am, but I think that I hear this a lot with women, that they are having pain, having sex, and when you really think about marriage or long-term relationships, if that is the one person you've chosen, whether you're male or female, it's up to both parties to take it upon themselves to look at these issues, so that if the husband's having a challenge, the wife feels rejected. And if the wife's having, or partner's having a challenge, the other partner feels rejected because they're not feeling that mojo. That's why the spark, that's that fire that people want to feel, and you look on TV and it's all this hot sex and movies and everything, and everybody's fantasizing about it. It can really happen. I'm really into keeping my relationship spicy because I'm Italian, you know, and I'm married to a really handsome guy, and we're getting older and older, and we're both saying, wow, we can see the difference, even though we're athletic and we're healthy and we love each other and we're still attracted to each other. But there still has to be a communication about this issue, because the guys don't want to face it. The women, when they bring it up, the guy gets all defensive. This is what I've heard from wives and couples that I've coached. So it's time to get real. That's why I Get Real About Love. Hello, everybody. If you need to get real, we need to get real about communicating, because if that's your sexual partner, you know, whether you're in a marriage or a committed relationship, that's their only source of getting sex. So are you supposed to avoid or pull back from not having sex for months and months and months because you're feeling like your mojo is not there anymore? Or can you go and spend a couple $100 and get something and do something about it, you know? And I think it's really important, because people's divorces, what are the main reasons? Money, sex, you know, lack of interest, or, you know, they lose the feeling that they felt. Women want the romance. Like a lot of the guys go, well, my wife, you know, she wants the romance and I want some passionate sex. And I said, but there's got to be a bridge to bring you over into feeling that way. So this would really help, don't you think?
Definitely.
Oh, yes, definitely.
And I think that, you know, what I like about what we're talking about today is it just makes me think of all the people that come in. There's a woman that came in and she goes, the first thing she said, no, hi, no, hello. She opened the door. She goes, do something about my angry hormones. That was it. We knew exactly what to do for her. We knew where she was coming from. We knew exactly what she was referring to, what was happening. And there's men and women that come together. I love the couples that come together. They come together and they try and, you know, work through it together, which I think is wonderful. Communication is great. And, you know, then of course, you know, they'll be like, can you fix her? Fix my wife, you know, fix my partner, and vice versa. So it's wonderful. I even had one couple come in and I'm asking the women question, very, very like specific questions, like, you know, when was your last period? When was this? When did you do this? And she didn't have any of the answers. And her husband pulled out his phone. He said, okay, wait, what was it? Okay, yeah. Her last cycle was on this date. This is the last time we had sex. This is how many days it's been. Everything, he knew it. He had it all in his calendar. And he was able to answer her personal questions way better than she was. But, you know, and luckily we were able to, you know, help them. And that's what makes it feel so good.
Well, athletes too, you know, they're on H hormones to keep them young. Do you address that issue too? Human growth hormone at all? No?
We really don't do
No,
HCG.
I know some people, people ask me about it a lot, and there's some doctors that believe that will rejuvenate all of this as well, but it still has to be based on the hormones in combination. But I was just wondering what you thought about that. I didn't know if you were into it or not, because some people are into that. And a lot of people in Los Angeles, you know, they're athletes and they want to stay young forever, you know, between the plastic surgery and the hormones and everything. This is the key. I think this is the baseline factor to making and improving your sexual life. But I think that it's a great idea to go in with your partner. I really do, because you can see that both of these women are very compassionate about the issue, and they'll be able to talk to you openly about the functions of, you know, what works and what doesn't and how long it'll take. So when somebody starts, do you think that they think it's going to instantly like sparkle up everything? How long does it take for it to take effect once you start? I know it took me like 4 weeks or something before I started to feel like, woohoo, you know, feel that feeling.
Yeah, Connie.
Well, it depends on individual. Sometimes they know it right away. If certain symptoms goes away right away, even a week. And some may take a couple months. So what I tell my patients, hang in there. Yeah. It's going to work. Give it a little bit of time. It took this long to get where you are. So it's going to take a little time to get you back to where you were. So don't get too don't get too antsy. We'll get there. We'll help you. You get there safely, and that's our also a mission too. We want to make sure you get your balance back safely, and we want to balance your hormone and physiologic level, not where it's way up there, so that it'll start giving you problems. So that's why it may take a little bit of time, but hang in there. We'll get there.
I think that's really important for people to know, because I know when I went through it, and my sister's going through it right now. She's like, I don't know what's wrong with me, but it affects your skin. It makes your skin look younger, and it makes, and then the testosterone, I take, all three things, right? With creams. And I ran out of my testosterone, and we were so busy going through different things in our life, and I forgot to order it, and I didn't have it for a couple months. And then the doctor, I called, and I'm like, God, I feel so tired. And he goes, well, you haven't ordered your testosterone in a while, and I'm like, oh my God. And I had all these tubes, they were just hidden somewhere because I forgot where they were. And then I started taking it. I feel like Wonder Woman, like, I'm like, dun, dun, my husband, like, what did you do? I said, I started taking the testosterone again. And he's like, I think I need some. So we're doing, we're in the middle of all of this ourselves. And it is really a really cool way to bond closer to your partner, because I've been talking during Corona about deeper relationships, because people are at home. They're not used to being together 24/7 with their partners. I don't know if you girls are married or in a situation, but I've been in the house with my husband for months, and he's used to traveling and I'm used to traveling. So it's been really different, to have him home. So I've been trying to make the biggest effort as the female, with food and romance and making dates and keeping the romance deep, and also with family members. If you have a family member that might be going through this, let them listen to this a podcast, because it's really important for people to know that it isn't bad if you need hormones. Like, I think there's sort of a stigma, like, oh my God, she needs hormones, something's really wrong, or he needs this, something's wrong. So how do we dissolve that myth?
Not at all. It is definitely not. I mean, you want to feel like yourself again, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that there should not be any stigma associated with it. The same way, before it was going to therapy was a stigma. Nobody, if you had to go see a therapist for your problems, to talk it out, that there was so much stigma attached to it. Depression, taking antidepressants, so much stigma attached to it. Why are we going to add another stigma to just something else, right? I mean, this is us. We're human. We have our bodies. We have to treat them well. And this is one of the routes to making sure that we're treating ourselves well.
And one other way to
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
One other way to look at it is we have our hormone receptors everywhere in our body. It's not in just our reproductive organs that we have receptors for these hormones, sex hormones. We have these receptors in our brain, our bone, everywhere, kidney, liver. So don't feel like, okay, I need hormone for this issue only. For instance, we need testosterone. A lot of people think that estrogen is the one that actually builds the bone. No, estrogen actually will help you maintain your bone, but progesterone and testosterone will actually build the bone.
Really?
So,
that is fascinating, because a lot of I'm going through the bone density stuff. So what can people do for this? So this is what we can do to strengthen our bones.
Yes.
That's amazing.
So glad you brought that up, Connie, because I was thinking about that in the back of my mind too, that people just always associate hormones with just the one thing, but they are involved in so many different functions of our body.
Right. So testosterone helps with the cognitive functions.
That's amazing. Well, you women have given all of these listeners who's out there that are feeling this lack of mojo some inspiration and some guidance. So I'm going to give them now, what can you offer them? Like, give us what you would say that they need to do when they call you. So I'm going to put all your information underneath and tell everybody where to go, but how can they get a hold of you, and how can they get this information so they can get the mojo back? Even my dog is excited. I'm going to come over here. He's barking now because I think he's frisky from all this conversation.
Absolutely.
I am so sorry.
A couple things I want to let your viewers know out there. So we are here to help. We're not just a pharmacy, and I'm not just a pharmacist. We also can help you find the right provider as well. So if you're having trouble finding a provider for you to help you navigate this as well, let us know. We will reach out to our network as well.
Hold on.
You can call us.
Please get him.
And you can also call, email, stop by. We're still taking patients. So you can stop by and have a conversation. I'm here. I'm always a pharmacist here to help you. So definitely stop by and don't be afraid. I mean, that's number one. Like, don't be afraid to come by and ask all your questions, no matter how silly you may think they are, because that's how we all started, right? You won't know unless you ask, and we're always here to put in the time and effort needed. So don't, and that's another thing that I want to address. I mean, a lot of pharmacies, this is not your typical pharmacy. I say that all the time on our health show. It's not your typical pharmacy. We have so many different testing available. And over here, we're not, like other pharmacies. We spend the time, we have the time to commit to each patient. And that's what I really love about it, because that's the only way we can really help you get to where you need to be.
Wow. Any words of wisdom, Connie, as we hang up off of this wonderful information?
Well, one thing we should be all doing right now, staying home, is how we're going to reduce our stress and how we're going to reduce our cortisol and how we're going to balance our hormones. So we could start with maybe checking our hormone levels and just give us a call. Let us help you guys. We've been doing this for over 20 years. And we have so many ladies and men that got their life back, their energy back. So let us help you. And this is my passion.
From a distance. Can they do this from a distance? Like, if people
of course, like how we're doing, I've been doing Zoom consultation with patients. So we could do this from, long distance.
And you can just go on the website and you can pick a time slot. We are going to have everything set up with scheduling your consultations as well.
Give them your website right now so that they can call you right away. And
so the website is www.theremedypharm.com. That's the Remedy, REMEDY. Pharm is PHARM.com. We just launched a brand new website, so it might have a little bit of knickknacks in there. So just keep that in mind. Also, our phone number, and I'm sure Renee's going to put that for you, is 310-375-0655. And you can always email me. I'm on my email all the time. And my email is manager@theremedypharm.com. And I can always direct you where you need to be.
Well, I found her on LinkedIn. So you can find Remedy Pharm on LinkedIn and also go to their radio show. Their radio show is very fascinating about different topics relating to health and wellness. We did one last week, and that was really great. And I was really happy to be on it to talk about my own situation and how the nutrients that they provide really brought me back to health. And so all of you, health, love, and family are the key, to me. Those are the most important things in your life, love, family, health, and faith, frankly. And to keep that enthusiasm in your life, the responsibility is up to you. And you have these two angelic women who are so empathetic and so aware and so knowledgeable about it. I was really excited to share that with you because I have a pharmacy that's far away and I wish that I had somebody to go to. So I think I'm going to come in and get you girls to do some magic on me too as the new year comes. And I would invite all of you to take advantage of these amazing people who really care. I think going to practitioners or any type of coach or any type of pharmacy, for me, it's about me feeling cared about, me feeling like they really care about my individuality and my challenges. And as you can see and feel from these beautiful women, they really do care. And that is one of the reasons that I wanted to have them on Get Real About Love, because we all need to understand that we are responsible for our health and they have all the tools to help you get your mojo back and to have more romance and connection with your partner. And even if you're single and you're not feeling that mojo, It's important for you to check that out, because a lot of women, when they hit 45 into their 50s, they stop losing that feeling like they want to go back out into the dating game again. So when they come to me, I'm the one that likes to hook them up with feeling beautiful at any age, the way they look, the way they present themselves, and especially how they care for their hearts after disappointments in the relationship world. So hormones are a big, big part of it. I can guarantee you, it changed my life. So I invite you to call these girls, and I thank you so much for your time. Remedy Pharm is going to probably be busier after this, because I think people want to be cared about when it comes to their health. So thank you for tuning in. All the information about Remedy Pharm will be right here below on this podcast or this video that you see. And I just say happy holidays to both you, Connie and Aamina. I think you girls are wonderful, and I'm so grateful that you came on today. So thank you
So much.
All right.
Thank you so much for having us.
I'll be in touch with you. What did you say?
I said, thank you so much for having us. This was wonderful.
Thank
Sorry
you.
about my dog coming down. He is addicted to me, and he loves to be next to me. So when I'm on Zoom, he knows that he can manipulate me. He's a little naughty boy. But anyway, having love is one of the most important things. And if you're looking for love, or you want to get over a heartbreak, please feel free to call me and contact me at reneepiane.com. And I'll be back with more wonderful shows to inspire you to stay healthy and spicy and keep your love alive in the new year. So happy holidays, and I'll be in touch with you girls. And thank you so much for your wisdom. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.